First Contact's Deception. Admiral Helena Blackwood stood at the viewport of the UES Hyperion, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched Jupiter's storms swirl in the distance. The massive gas giant had served as humanity's early warning system for decades, its network of quantum sensors disguised as research stations. Now those sensors had detected something that made her blood run cold. A massive fleet of unknown origin had just emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of 30 years of naval service. The bridge crew of the Hyperion worked with practiced efficiency, their movements precise despite the tension in the air. Lieutenant James Wang's fingers danced across his tactical display. 73 unknown vessels, Admiral. Configuration suggests a war fleet. They're maintaining formation and advancing toward Jupiter at sublight speed. Blackwood nodded, her silver-streaked black hair catching the light from the nearby sun. The Hyperion was technically a patrol vessel, part of what appeared to be a small defensive force of just 15 ships. What the approaching aliens didn't know was that this patrol fleet represented the most advanced military technology humanity had ever developed. The main viewscreen flickered to life, revealing a being that looked like a cross between a mantis and a wolf, its bronze-colored exoskeleton gleaming under harsh lighting. "I am High Commander Vazek of the Kraxan Empire. Your species has been deemed unworthy of independent status. Surrender your worlds now, and we will ensure your transition into our empire is peaceful." Blackwood allowed herself a small smile. The Kraxans' arrogance was exactly what Earth's military strategists had predicted when they detected the first signs of alien surveillance 6 months ago. "This is Admiral Helena Blackwood of the United Earth Space Force. You are entering protected space. Return to your territory immediately." Vazek's mandibles clicked in what appeared to be amusement. "Protected by this." A tactical overlay appeared, highlighting Blackwood's small fleet. "Your species is young, Admiral. You cannot hope to stand against the might of an empire that has conquered 1,000 worlds." "Perhaps," Blackwood replied calmly, "you should count your ships again." Confusion flickered across Vazek's alien features. According to his sensors, the human fleet remained unchanged, a mere 15 vessels against his armada. But something in the human admiral's tone made his inner membranes twitch with unease. Lieutenant Wang's voice cut through the tension. "Enemy fleet is charging weapons, Admiral. They're moving into attack formation Delta 7. "Excellent," Blackwood said, settling into her command chair. "Deploy the quantum mesh, activate Neuralink combat systems, and prepare to show our friends why humanity hasn't needed a large fleet to defend Earth." The space around Jupiter's moons shimmered almost imperceptibly as hundreds of quantum phase satellites activated, creating a web of interconnected fields that would turn the very fabric of space-time into a weapon. Every human crew member on every ship felt the familiar tingle as their neural implants synchronized, transforming 15 separate vessels into a single, devastating combat entity. "They're launching their first salvos," Wang reported, his voice steady despite the streams of plasma fire heading toward them. "Impact in 15 seconds. Blackwood's smile grew slightly wider. "Initialize the Aegis Protocol. Let's show the Kraxan Empire why they should have done their homework before threatening Earth." The massive barrage of energy weapons and kinetic projectiles streaked toward the human fleet, enough firepower to reduce a small moon to rubble. But as the attacks approached, something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to bend and twist, the energy weapons diverging harmlessly into the void, while the physical projectiles found themselves suddenly traveling at relativistic speeds directly back toward the Kraxan fleet. Vazek's mandibles dropped open in shock as 3 of his heavy cruisers disappeared in balls of nuclear fire, destroyed by their own weapons. "Impossible! What sorcery is this?" "Not sorcery, High Commander," Blackwood replied, her voice carrying a hint of steel. "Just good old-fashioned human ingenuity. You see, while your empire was busy conquering those 1,000 worlds, we were preparing for exactly this moment. We knew we weren't alone in the galaxy, and we knew that sooner or later someone would come testing our defenses." The remaining 12 Kraxan ships that had been hit by their own redirected fire began to list in space, their shields completely drained. Blackwood watched as panic spread through the enemy fleet, their tight formation beginning to break apart. "Your ships are impressive, High Commander," she continued, "but they're also predictable. Every move, every tactical decision you've made so far, we've run simulations on it thousands of times. The way you position your heavy cruisers, the frequencies of your targeting systems, even the power distribution in your shields, we've spent years studying them all through our quantum observation networks." Wang's console beeped urgently. "Admiral, they're attempting to regroup for a second attack run." "Then I believe it's time for Phase 2, Blackwood said, rising from her chair. "Deploy the Phantom drones. Let's show them what a real human battle fleet looks like." From the quantum mesh surrounding Jupiter's moons, thousands of small, sleek vessels emerged, each one controlled by the neural network linking the human ships and their crews. The Kraxan fleet's sensors hadn't detected them because, technically, they hadn't existed until this moment. They were quantum constructs, as real as any physical ship, but impossible to detect until they were needed. The last thing High Commander Vazek saw before cutting the communication channel was Admiral Blackwood's unwavering gaze. "Next time you encounter a species that seems defenseless, High Commander, remember this moment. Remember that appearances can be deceiving, and that humanity has survived countless attempts at extinction on our own world. We didn't do it by being the strongest or the most numerous. We did it by being the most adaptable, the most innovative, and when necessary, the most ruthless." As the battle was joined in earnest, the gas giant Jupiter watched impassively, its great red spot seeming to wink at the unfolding demonstration of humanity's true military might. The age of human isolation was over, and the galaxy was about to learn why Earth's small fleet had been more than sufficient for its defense. The hidden arsenal. High Commander Vazek's command bridge erupted in chaos as another wave of phantom vessels materialized from seemingly empty space. His tactical officer, First Strike Leader Kraz, frantically worked multiple control interfaces with his secondary limbs while trying to make sense of the impossible readings before him. "High Commander, our targeting systems are completely ineffective. These human constructs, they don't follow any known laws of physics. When we lock onto one, it's as if it exists in multiple states simultaneously." Vazek's claws dug into his command chair's metallic surface. The mighty Kraxan battle fleet, terror of 1,000 conquered worlds, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy they had gravely underestimated. His sensors showed thousands of human attack craft now, each one moving with impossible precision, as if guided by a single overwhelming intelligence. Aboard the UES Hyperion, Admiral Blackwood monitored the battle through her neural interface. Her consciousness expanded and merged with those of her fleet commanders through the quantum mesh. Lieutenant Wang's voice seemed to come from both beside her and inside her mind simultaneously. "The Phantom Swarm is performing beyond projected capabilities, Admiral. The enemy's adaptive algorithms can't keep up with the quantum state shifts." Blackwood allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Phantom drone program had been her project for the past decade, autonomous quantum constructs that could shift between multiple states of reality, making them nearly impossible to target or destroy. But they were only part of humanity's hidden arsenal. "Begin Phase 3, she commanded. "Deploy the Prometheus protocol." Deep within the Hyperion's quantum core, a new type of weapon stirred to life. Dr. Raj Patel, the ship's chief scientist, monitored the energy readings with a mixture of awe and apprehension. The Prometheus protocol was theoretical until 6 months ago, a way to temporarily alter the fundamental forces of nature within a localized space. "Prometheus protocol initializing," Dr. Patel reported, his dark eyes reflecting the swirling data streams before him. "Quantum field stabilizers at maximum. Ready to create the bubble on your mark, Admiral." In the space between the human and Kraxan fleets, reality itself began to warp. A sphere of altered spacetime expanded outward from the Hyperion, its surface shimmering like oil on water. Inside this bubble, the laws of physics would be temporarily rewritten to humanity's advantage. Vazek watched in horror as his ships entered the strange phenomenon. Their energy weapons, designed to function according to normal physical laws, suddenly became useless. Their shields, calibrated to resist specific types of attacks, failed to recognize the altered nature of space itself as a weapon. "Magnificent, isn't it?" Blackwood's voice came through on all Kraxan frequencies. "We call it the Prometheus Protocol. Your weapons rely on physical constants that no longer apply within that sphere. Your shields are trying to defend against forces that, technically speaking, don't exist anymore." On the Kraxan flagship's bridge, alarms blared as systems began to fail. Vazik's most powerful dreadnought, the Pride of Conquest, drifted helplessly as its antimatter containment fields fluctuated in the altered space. "This is impossible," he roared. "No species can change the laws of physics themselves." "That's where you're wrong," Blackwood replied. "We've spent centuries studying the fundamental nature of reality. While you were building bigger ships and stronger weapons, we were learning to manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. Your empire conquered through brute force. We survived by understanding the deeper truths of existence." Dr. Patel's voice cut through the neural network. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from several Kraxan vessels. They appear to be attempting to overload their drive cores." Blackwood nodded grimly. They'd rather destroy themselves than admit defeat, typical of empires built on dominance rather than understanding. "Lieutenant Wang, prepare to extend our quantum shields around their ships. We're not here to annihilate them." The phantom swarm moved with perfect coordination, surrounding the desperate Kraxan vessels. Streams of quantum energy connected the drones, creating a containment field that would prevent the enemy ships from self-destructing. "Listen carefully, High Commander," Blackwood broadcast. "Your weapons are useless, your shields are down, your drive cores are contained, but we're not going to destroy your fleet. Instead, we're going to give you a choice." Through the quantum mesh, Blackwood could feel the mixture of fear and defiance emanating from the Kraxan ships. She continued, "You can either retreat, taking with you the knowledge that there are forces in this universe far beyond your understanding, or you can continue this battle and watch as we systematically dismantle every advantage you thought you had." In the altered space between the fleets, reality continued to shimmer and shift. The phantom drones maintained their perfect formation, their quantum states fluctuating in patterns too complex for Kraxan sensors to track. On the Hyperion's bridge, Dr. Patel monitored the Prometheus Protocol's effects with growing excitement. "Admiral," he said through the neural link, "we're getting unprecedented data from this deployment. The protocol is performing even better than our simulations predicted. We could theoretically maintain this bubble indefinitely." High Commander Vazik stared at his tactical display, watching as his mighty fleet hung powerless in space. 1,000 years of Kraxan military doctrine, countless victories across the galaxy, all rendered meaningless by an enemy that had completely transcended traditional warfare. "Perhaps," he said slowly, his mandibles clicking in a gesture of resignation, "we should reevaluate our approach to first contact situations." Blackwood smiled. The real victory wasn't in defeating the Kraxan fleet. It was in making them question everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. As the quantum mesh continued to hum with the combined consciousness of her fleet, she prepared for what would come next. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would be leading that change not through conquest, but through understanding. Counter-strike. 2 weeks after the Battle of Jupiter, Admiral Blackwood stood before the United Earth Defense Council in their underground chamber beneath the Himalayas. The holographic displays showed tactical readouts of Kraxan space, gathered by quantum reconnaissance drones that had followed the retreating alien fleet. "The Kraxan Empire is in disarray," Blackwood explained, gesturing to the red clusters representing enemy fleet movements. "Their military doctrine relied on absolute superiority. Our defense of Jupiter shattered that illusion, and now their command structure is struggling to adapt." Council Chairman Victor Rossi, a stern-faced man with calculating eyes, leaned forward. "And you believe this is the moment to strike?" "Yes," Blackwood replied firmly. "Our quantum sensors have detected significant fleet movements away from their core worlds. They're reinforcing their borders, expecting a massive human invasion force." A slight smile crossed her face. They still haven't learned. The chamber's massive screens shifted to display a new set of tactical projections. Operation Shadow Fall, Blackwood continued. A precision strike at their command and control infrastructure using our most advanced technology yet, the Shadow Protocol. Dr. Raj Patel stepped forward, his quantum tablet projecting detailed technical specifications into the air. Unlike the Phantom drones or the Prometheus Protocol, Shadow Protocol doesn't just bend reality, it steps outside of it entirely. We can move ships through what we call null space, a dimension that exists between conventional reality states. In the Hyperion's launch bay 12 hours later, Commander Nathan Wells supervised the installation of Shadow Protocol modules on their strike force. The devices looked deceptively simple, crystalline structures that pulsed with an inner light that seemed to draw in surrounding illumination. Quantum entanglement checksums are green, reported Lieutenant Jessica Chen, her neural implants interfacing directly with the new technology. The null space matrices are stable and synchronized across all vessels. Wells nodded, feeling the familiar tingle of the neural network connecting him to his crew and ships. Begin final preparations. We launch in 30 minutes. The strike force consisted of just 5 ships, the Hyperion and 4 specially modified stealth frigates. To the Kraxan Empire, spread thin trying to defend thousands of systems against an invasion that would never come, such a small fleet would seem laughable. But that was the point. Admiral Blackwood's voice echoed through the neural network. All ships, prepare for Shadow Protocol initialization. Remember, once we enter null space, conventional sensors and communications will be useless. We'll be operating purely on quantum entanglement principles. The launch sequence began. In space around the 5 human vessels, reality began to ripple and fold. It wasn't like entering hyperspace or using conventional FTL drives. Instead, the ship simply ceased to exist in normal space-time, slipping into a realm between realities. Through the quantum neural link, Blackwood felt her consciousness expand to encompass the null space around them. Here, conventional physics held no sway. Distance and time became suggestions rather than laws. The Kraxan Empire's mighty sensor networks, designed to detect ships moving through normal space, would find nothing. First target, she announced through the neural net. The Kraxan Military Coordination Hub on Vaxis Prime. Their entire command and control network runs through that facility. Without it, their fleets will be operating blind and uncoordinated. The strike force moved through null space like shadows through darkness. Normal space flickered past them like images in a half-remembered dream. Dr. Patel's voice resonated through their shared consciousness. Quantum signatures are stable. Null space field integrity at 100%. We're completely undetectable. They emerged from null space in high orbit above Vaxis Prime. The Kraxan military hub sprawled across the planet's surface like a metallic spider, its transmission spires reaching into the sky. Nearby defense platforms, designed to stop entire invasion fleets, remained dormant, their sensors registering nothing unusual. Deploy quantum disruptors, Blackwood commanded. Small, crystalline devices materialized around the facility, having been transported through null space alongside the ships. Each one contained a tiny portion of altered space-time, a gift from the Prometheus Protocol. Disruptors in position, Wells reported. Ready to initiate on your command. Blackwood took a moment to appreciate the irony. The Kraxan Empire, with all its ships and weapons, was about to be crippled by devices smaller than a human hand. Initiate quantum collapse sequence. The disruptors activated simultaneously. Reality itself seemed to hiccup around the military hub. When space-time reasserted itself a millisecond later, the facility's quantum computer cores had been reduced to their base atomic components. No explosion, no destruction, just the sudden transformation of cutting-edge military technology into useless matter. Alarms began to blare across the Kraxan facility as systems failed catastrophically. Without their quantum cores, the entire military communication network began to collapse. Across thousands of systems, Kraxan ships suddenly found themselves cut off from central command. their carefully coordinated defense plans dissolving into chaos. Shadow Protocol reinitialization in progress, Lieutenant Chen reported. Ready for Phase 2. Admiral Blackwood watched through the quantum mesh as confusion spread through the Kraxan Empire's military structure. They had expected brute force, a massive fleet bearing down on their worlds. Instead, humanity had simply reached out from between the spaces in reality and severed their ability to coordinate their forces. Prepare for null space transition, she commanded. Next target, their shipyard complex in the Helix Nebula. Let's show them that nowhere in their empire is beyond our reach. As the strike force slipped back into null space, Blackwood reflected on how this would change the galaxy. The Kraxan Empire was about to learn that true power didn't come from the size of your fleet or the strength of your weapons. It came from understanding the nature of reality itself, and humanity had spent centuries mastering exactly that. The enemy within. Commander Nathan Wells crouched in the shadows of a maintenance tunnel deep within the Kraxan Imperial Palace on Zenith Prime. His quantum stealth suit bent light around him, making him virtually invisible to both organic eyes and electronic sensors. Through his neural implant, he maintained constant contact with the strike team scattered throughout the massive structure. Status report, he subvocalized, the quantum entanglement communicator ensuring absolute secrecy. Engineering hub secured, Lieutenant Chen whispered back through the neural net. You won't believe what we found, Commander. These maintenance tunnels, they weren't built by the Kraxan military. Wells frowned. Explain. The architecture, the quantum shielding, it's all designed to hide from Kraxan sensors specifically. Someone within their own empire built this network to stay hidden from their rulers. Above them, in the ornate halls of the Imperial Palace, High Command was in session. Through carefully placed quantum sensors, Wells could see High Commander Vazek arguing with the Imperial Council. The defeat at Jupiter and the mysterious attacks on their infrastructure had thrown their entire society into turmoil. Our entire military communication network is in shambles, Vazek was saying, his mandibles clicking in agitation. These humans, they strike without ships, without warning. They're somehow reaching our most secure facilities as if our defenses don't exist. An older Kraxan, his exoskeleton bearing the marks of ancient battles, rose from his seat. Perhaps, Supreme General Koth rumbled, it is time we considered another approach. Wells held his breath. According to intelligence, Koth was one of the oldest members of the Kraxan military, a veteran of their first expansion wars. His words carried significant weight in the council. What do you suggest? Vazek demanded. Surrender to these upstarts. No, Koth replied calmly. I suggest we listen to those among us who have been trying to warn us of this day for centuries. The chamber fell silent. Through his quantum sensors, Wells could feel the tension rising in the room. Something significant was about to happen. Commander, Dr. Patel's voice came through the neural net. I'm detecting unusual quantum signatures throughout the palace. They're similar to our own technology, but different, more evolved. Before Wells could respond, a new figure stepped out of seemingly solid wall in the council chamber. The Kraxan leaders recoiled in shock as one of their own kind emerged from what appeared to be thin air, but this one was different. Their exoskeleton was adorned with flowing patterns of light, and they moved with a grace that seemed almost ethereal. I am Guardian Zara, the newcomer announced, leader of the Hidden Ones. For centuries, we have watched as our empire descended into brutal conquest, forgetting the true legacy of our species. Wells felt his neural implant tingle as it detected sophisticated quantum technology emanating from the Guardian's form. Admiral, he subvocalized to Blackwood, who was monitoring the situation from the Hyperion. Are you seeing this? Every word, Blackwood replied. The quantum signatures match some of the anomalous readings we detected during our initial surveys of Kraxan space. There's a whole hidden civilization within their empire. Guardian Zara continued addressing the stunned council. Before we became conquerors, the Kraxan were explorers of reality's deepest mysteries. We developed technology to bend space and time, not to wage war, but to understand the universe itself. When the military faction took control, some of us refused to let that knowledge be twisted into weapons. Impossible, Vazek sputtered. We would have detected. Would you? Zara's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Just as you detected the humans before they turned your own tactics against you. Your sensors cannot find what they don't know to look for. We have lived among you, invisible, waiting for the moment when your empire's arrogance would finally meet its match. Through the quantum mesh, Wells could feel Admiral Blackwood's intense interest. The existence of this hidden faction within the Kraxan Empire could change everything. These humans, Zara continued, they've done what we could not. They've shown you the futility of brute force. Their technology, their understanding of quantum mechanics and reality manipulation, it mirrors our own ancient knowledge. They achieved in centuries what took us millennia to discover. Dr. Patel's excited voice came through the neural net. Commander, the quantum signatures we're detecting, they're incredible. The Hidden One's technology could be the key to stabilizing our more experimental protocols. Supreme General Koth stepped forward, his ancient frame straightening. I remember the old stories, he said slowly. Before the military takeover, before we became an empire of conquest, we were once scholars of the universe's mysteries. And we can be again, Zara replied. The humans have not destroyed our military installations, they have merely disabled them. They fight not to conquer, but to defend. Perhaps it is time for the Kraxan Empire to remember its true heritage. Wells watched as the council chamber erupted in debate. Through his neural link, he could sense Admiral Blackwood's satisfaction. They had come expecting to gather intelligence on enemy weaknesses, but they had found something far more valuable, potential allies who shared their understanding of the universe's deeper truths. All teams maintain position, he ordered through the neural net. I think we're about to witness a turning point in galactic history. In the shadows of the maintenance tunnel, Wells smiled. The Kraxan Empire had launched this conflict expecting to find a primitive species ripe for conquest. Instead, they had found not only an adversary that surpassed their military might, but also a mirror that showed them what they had once been, and perhaps could be again. Dawn of a new era. Admiral Helena Blackwood stood in the Grand Chamber of Harmony, a vast space within the Kraxan Imperial Palace that had been hidden for centuries. The chamber's crystalline walls pulsed with quantum energy patterns that made her neural implants sing with recognition. Around her, humans and Kraxan worked side by side, merging their understanding of reality's fundamental forces. The integration of our quantum matrices is proceeding better than expected, Dr. Patel reported, working alongside Guardian Zara at a control interface that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Hidden One's refinements to our Shadow Protocol have increased efficiency by 300%. 3 months had passed since the revelation in the council chamber. The Kraxan Empire was transforming, remembering its origins as seekers of knowledge rather than conquerors. The military hardliners, led by Vazek, had attempted a last desperate coup, only to find their weapons and ships refusing to function, disabled by a combination of human and Hidden One technology. We spent centuries preserving our knowledge, Guardian Zara explained, her exoskeleton's luminous patterns shifting with her movements. Watching as our species turned away from understanding to embrace conquest. But you humans, you followed our ancient path without even knowing it existed. Supreme General Koth, now leading the Transitional Council, approached with Commander Wells. The old warrior's exoskeleton had been modified with the same flowing patterns of light that marked the Hidden Ones, symbolizing his embrace of the old ways. The last of the resistance has surrendered, Koth announced. When their neural networks detected the quantum awakening in their own bodies, most of them understood. We were never meant to be conquerors. Blackwood nodded. The quantum awakening had been Guardian Zara's masterstroke, using combined human and Hidden One technology to reactivate dormant neural structures in all Kraxan, structures that connected them to the deeper quantum nature of reality. It was like waking up from a long dream of violence to remember who they truly were. Admiral, Lieutenant Chen called through the neural net, The first joint fleet is ready for trials. On the massive holographic display dominating the chamber's center, Blackwood watched as human and Kraxan ships moved in perfect formation. The vessels had been modified with hybrid technology, their hulls gleaming with the same quantum-infused patterns that marked the hidden ones. "It's remarkable," Wells observed. "A month ago we were enemies, now we're creating something entirely new." "Not new," Guardian Zara corrected gently. "This is the awakening we have waited for. When we first developed quantum manipulation technology eons ago, we glimpsed a truth. The universe is not meant to be conquered but understood. All species who truly advance eventually discover this." Dr. Patel's excitement was palpable through the neural network. "The applications are staggering. Combined with the hidden one's knowledge, our technology can do more than just bend reality. We can use it to heal worlds devastated by war, to explore dimensions we never imagined existed, to solve problems that seemed insurmountable." The chamber's quantum field rippled as more hidden ones emerged from their dimensional sanctuaries across the Empire, bringing with them knowledge and technology that had been preserved for generations. Each arrival strengthened the growing network of understanding between the two species. "There will be challenges," Koth acknowledged. "Centuries of imperial doctrine cannot be undone in a day, but the quantum awakening has reminded us of who we were, who we can be again." Blackwood smiled, remembering the tense moments before the Battle of Jupiter. "You came to conquer us," she said to Koth, "but instead you found partners in understanding the universe's greatest mysteries." Through her neural implant, Blackwood could feel the quantum web expanding across the galaxy, not a weapon or a tool of control, but a network of shared knowledge and understanding. Human quantum technology, combined with the ancient wisdom of the hidden ones, was transforming both species in ways no one could have predicted. "The real victory," Guardian Zara observed, watching the joint fleet's maneuvers, "was not in the battles won or the technology deployed. It was in remembering that true power comes from understanding, not dominance." As if to emphasize her words, the quantum patterns throughout the chamber pulsed in harmony with the thoughts and emotions of all present, human and Kraxan alike. The neural network that had once coordinated warfare now connected minds in pursuit of knowledge. "So," Commander Wells asked, "what do we explore first?" The holographic display shifted, showing mysterious quantum signatures at the galaxy's edge that defied conventional physics. Guardian Zara's patterns glowed with enthusiasm. "There are realms beyond normal space-time that neither of our species has fully explored. Together, we can unlock mysteries that neither of us could solve alone." Admiral Blackwood felt the familiar thrill of discovery, the same feeling that had driven humanity to develop their quantum technology in the first place. But now that excitement was amplified, shared across the neural network with beings who had walked a similar path. "Then let's begin," she said, watching as human and Kraxan ships activated their hybrid quantum drives, preparing to venture into the unknown together. After all, the universe's greatest mysteries are still waiting to be understood. The Grand Chamber hummed with possibility as the joint fleet disappeared into null space, not running from or toward battle, but seeking knowledge. The age of conquest was over. The age of understanding had begun.